recently, Daystar made the decision to terminate my son, Jonathan Lamb's employment. That decision was not taken lightly.
For years, whispers have surrounded the future of the Daystar throne, but nothing has stirred more debate than the sudden spotlight on Jonathan Lamb, now named as the next heir. What should have been a moment of unity and celebration has instead divided opinion across the kingdom. While some see destiny fulfilled, others question the timing, the silence, and the unseen hands behind the decision. So, who is Jonathan Lamb really? And why are so many people far from celebrating his rise to power now? The end of an era. The Christian broadcasting world was shaken by heartbreaking news when Joanie Lamb, the co-founder and longtime leader of the Daystar television network, passed away on May 7, 2026, at the age of 65. Her death came after months of declining health that had deeply concerned family members, colleagues, and supporters around the world. According to official statements from the Bedford-based ministry, Joanie had been battling serious health problems, and a painful back injury had recently made her condition worse. In the days before her passing, her health reportedly declined quickly, leading to urgent medical care and a wave of prayers from viewers and ministry partners across many countries. For millions of people who followed Daystar, her death represented far more than the loss of a television executive. It marked the passing of one of the most influential figures in modern Christian media. Together with her late husband, Marcus Lamb, Joanie founded Daystar in 1993 with a vision to spread the gospel to people around the world. What began as a small Christian station eventually grew into one of the largest evangelical television networks in existence, reaching homes across continents through satellite and cable platforms. After the passing of Marcus Lamb in 2021, Joanie Lamb stepped fully into leadership as president, becoming the public face of Daystar television network. With her at the helm, the ministry continued its growth, reaching more homes across the world and strengthening its programs of faith, teaching, and inspiration. Many friends and supporters described her as a woman of deep trust in God, whose decisions were shaped by prayer, wisdom, and a sincere desire to serve people. In an official message, the Daystar board honored her long years of dedication, noting that her love for God and commitment to helping others had been central to the ministry from its early beginnings. They also assured viewers that the network would remain steady and active, highlighting that she had already built a strong leadership team and structure to ensure smooth continuity and lasting stability for the future under her continued faithful guidance. Special tribute programs were planned to celebrate her life and achievements, while regular broadcasts were expected to continue without disruption. Those closest to the ministry described her as a pioneering force whose vision helped turn Daystar into a global platform watched by millions. With her passing, an important chapter in the history of Christian television came to a close. Her death not only ended decades of leadership and growth, but also marked the conclusion of an era defined by faith, family leadership, and a powerful influence on televangelism around the world. While the members of Daystar mourn the death of the president, why is everyone not celebrating the ascension of the next heir? Could there be more to everything? Let's delve into the details of leadership transition, family conflict, and Jonathan Lamb's exit. Behind Daystar's most painful chapter. Alongside the many tributes celebrating Joanie Lamb's influence and years of leadership, discussions about her legacy also brought renewed attention to one of the most painful and controversial chapters in Daystar television network's recent history. Beneath the public expressions of gratitude and remembrance lay a family conflict that had, for years, created deep divisions within both the ministry and the Lamb family itself. At the center of the controversy was Jonathan Lamb, Joanie's son and a former vice president of the network. For many years, Jonathan played a visible role in the organization founded by his parents. However, tensions behind the scenes eventually grew into a highly public dispute that would permanently alter his relationship with the ministry. The disagreement reportedly arose after serious accusations involving a minor relative surfaced within the family. Jonathan and his wife, Susie Lamb, publicly voiced concerns about how the matter had been handled. They argued that the response had been inadequate and claimed that protecting the ministry's reputation had been given greater importance than ensuring accountability. Their statements attracted widespread attention and sparked intense debate among viewers and supporters of the network. Joanie Lamb strongly rejected those accusations and firmly denied any wrongdoing or attempt to conceal information. She maintained that the claims made by her son were inaccurate and harmful to the ministry that she and her late husband had spent decades building. As tensions escalated, the conflict moved beyond private family disagreements and became a public battle that affected the leadership of the organization itself. The dispute eventually led to Jonathan's removal from Daystar in 2024, marking a dramatic and painful break between him and the ministry founded by his parents. What had once been a close working relationship became one of the most talked about controversies surrounding the network. As the disagreement unfolded, supporters and critics of Daystar found themselves divided. Some stood behind Jonathan and Susie, believing their concerns deserved greater attention, while others defended the network's leadership. Daystar consistently maintained that internal investigations had not confirmed allegations of wrongdoing and stressed its commitment to protecting the ministry and its mission. Following Joanie Lamb's passing, Daystar reaffirmed that its work would continue under its established leadership. Yet, despite those assurances, the family conflict remains an inseparable part of the network's recent history. It has added layers of sadness, controversy, and complexity to the legacy Joanie Lamb leaves behind, ensuring that her story will be remembered not only for its achievements, but also for the painful divisions that emerged in its later years. Is Jonathan right to claim the highest seat after all that has happened? Does he have the moral right to? Let's dive into the details of Jonathan Lamb's return to Daystar and the final wish that changed everything. The wish that changed everything. Jonathan Lamb has returned to public attention within the Daystar community after new claims emerged about a final wish reportedly expressed by his late mother, Joanie Lamb, before her passing. This development has added a new and emotional layer to the ongoing story surrounding the leadership and future direction of the Daystar network, which was co-founded and built over many years by Joanie and her husband, Marcus Lamb. According to Jonathan, he was recently aware that his mother had expressed a desire for him to return to a leadership position within Daystar. He described this information as deeply meaningful to him, especially because it comes after a long period marked by distance, misunderstanding, and emotional strain within the family. For Jonathan, this moment represents more than just a possible change in role. It is being seen as a step toward healing old wounds and restoring broken relationships. He further noted that this reported wish from his mother appears to align with sentiments previously expressed by his father, Marcus Lamb, before his own passing. Jonathan believes it is significant that both of his parents, at different points in time, shared a similar vision regarding his involvement in the ministry's future. In his view, this shared direction adds weight to the idea that his role in Daystar was never meant to be separated from the legacy his parents built. Jonathan has also been careful to emphasize that his interest in serving is not driven by personal ambition, titles, or control. Instead, he describes it as a sense of calling that he believes has been present in his life since childhood. For him, leadership is not about position, but about purpose, service, and responsibility to something greater than himself. These developments follow reports from a longtime family associate who claimed that Joanie Lamb once told a Daystar board member shortly before her death, "If Jonathan reaches out, give him back Daystar." While this statement has not been officially confirmed by the organization, it has circulated widely and sparked strong reactions among supporters and observers. Many see it as a final message of reconciliation, suggesting a desire for peace within the family and continuity in the ministry's original vision. Amid the attention and emotional reactions, Jonathan has stated that his focus remains steady. He says he is committed to honoring his parents' legacy, promoting unity, and ensuring that Daystar continues its mission into the future. He has also expressed hope that the leadership board will carefully consider the wishes attributed to both of his parents, especially during their final moments. As discussions continue, Jonathan maintains a calm and ready stance. He believes that whatever direction is ultimately taken, it should reflect faith, unity, and the foundational purpose upon which Daystar was built. What is the current situation at Daystar? How are the tensions being handled? Let's dig into the details of the family and ministry amidst a leadership storm in motion. Leadership, legacy, and rising tensions. At the heart of this unfolding drama lies a complicated blend of family loyalty, ministry leadership, and the weight of public expectations. What had once operated as a carefully organized and well-established ministry and media network slowly evolved into a place marked by emotional pressure, different visions for the future, and growing disagreements behind the scenes. Over time, private concerns began to spill into public view, turning a family matter into a story followed closely by supporters and critics alike. Those closest to Jonathan often argue that his involvement in the organization was never the result of a sudden desire for influence. According to them, his path had been shaped long before questions of succession ever emerged. They point to the years his father spent intentionally preparing him, exposing him to every aspect of the ministry and business, from broadcasting and television production to finances, administration, and leadership responsibilities. Jonathan was reportedly trained to understand how every piece worked together. The philosophy behind this preparation was straightforward. True leadership comes through experience and knowledge, not assumptions or titles. But when the founding leadership passed away, everything changed almost overnight. A system that had seemed stable for decades suddenly entered a delicate and uncertain period. Grief weighed heavily on everyone involved. At the same time, pressing questions about the future demanded immediate answers. Conversations that once would have remained inside the family circle became matters of public discussion, with supporters and observers closely examining every move and decision. In the version told by his supporters, Jonathan did not see himself as someone chasing power or personal recognition. Instead, they describe him as a man who felt a deep sense of responsibility resting on his shoulders. With millions of viewers and followers connected to the ministry worldwide, they believe he was concerned that confusion, disagreement, or instability could harm something far bigger than any single person. To them, he was not trying to take control or gain authority for selfish reasons. Rather, he saw himself as someone trying to hold things together during a sensitive time of emotional tension and leadership change. In their view, his actions were guided more by concern for unity and continuity than ambition, as he attempted to protect the peace and direction of a global community going through transition and uncertainty. They see him as a stabilizing figure in difficult times today. Yet this difficult chapter also revealed deep divisions within both the family and the wider leadership circle. The same actions were interpreted in strikingly different ways. Supporters viewed them as acts of duty and faithfulness, while critics saw signs of excessive control and overreach. What one side called obedience, another considered interference. As emotions intensified and opinions hardened, a disagreement that began behind closed doors gradually transformed into a much larger and more dramatic conflict, one that would reshape relationships and ignite debates far beyond the family itself. What were Jonathan's supporters' arguments? What about the arguments of those against? Let's take a look at the competing narratives, the painful choices, and the struggle for truth. When truth becomes multiple realities. As the situation grew more tense, it became clear that the matter was no longer only about leadership roles or organizational structure. It had shifted into something deeper and more sensitive: questions of trust, how events were being understood, and the direction of moral judgment. In such a charged atmosphere, nothing went unnoticed. Every small action was carefully observed, every decision was weighed and discussed, and even moments of silence were no longer neutral. They were filled with meaning depending on who was interpreting them. Those who support Jonathan present him as a man who consistently chose patience over pressure and restraint over personal ambition. From their point of view, there were moments when he could have stepped forward more forcefully or taken advantage of openings that would have given him greater influence. Yet, they argue, he did not rush into such paths. Instead, he is described as someone who preferred to wait, to reflect, and to seek clarity before acting. Prayer, quiet reflection, and a sense of spiritual direction are often highlighted as the foundation of his decisions. In this way of telling the story, his choices are seen not as weakness or hesitation, but as discipline. He is portrayed as someone who believed that doing the right thing sometimes means enduring misunderstanding for a period of time. Alongside him, his wife, Susie, is also described as sharing in this journey, walking through seasons marked by emotional strain, uncertainty, and public attention. For them, the easier option would have been to step away quietly, avoid conflict, and leave the pressure behind. However, within this narrative, staying was not about comfort or convenience. It was framed as a matter of conviction and faithfulness to what they believed was right, even when it was difficult. On the other hand, critics and opposing voices see the situation in a different way. From their view, questions arise about leadership direction, how decisions are made, and the real intentions behind actions. What supporters may describe as patience, calmness, or careful restraint, others may interpret as delay, control, or strategic calculation. In emotionally intense situations like this, meaning is never fixed or simple. It is shaped by people's experiences, loyalties, past hurts, and personal involvement. Because of this, the same actions can be understood in different ways, depending on who is watching and what they have been through personally. As disagreements deepened, accusations and counter-accusations began to spread, widening the conflict beyond leadership alone. It started to include questions about character, family relationships, and even spiritual sincerity. Some claims were strongly rejected, while others were deeply believed by those who felt they had lived through different versions of the same event. In the end, what emerged was not a single clear story, but a divided reality. Multiple interpretations existed side by side, each one convincing to those who saw the situation through their own experiences, emotions, and convictions. As Jonathan gets set to step into the leadership position, some are dissatisfied. Would Daystar pull through the storm easily? Does Jonathan have the ability to bring everyone together? Let's talk about the separation, healing, and the search for meaning beyond the conflict. Separation, pain, healing, conviction, restoration. As tensions continued to rise, the situation gradually moved into a phase of separation and redefinition. Jonathan and Susie, according to their supporters, began to step away from their familiar environment, leaving behind roles, structures, and long-established systems that had once shaped their daily lives and sense of identity. This transition is often described as both painful and necessary. Walking away meant loss of identity, loss of influence, and in some interpretations, loss of relationships that had been central for many years. But within the supportive narrative, this loss is reframed as a form of obedience, choosing conviction over convenience, even when the cost is high. In this perspective, leaving was not seen as an act of escape, but an act of clarity. It is described as a decision shaped by the belief that staying would compromise integrity, while stepping away would allow space for healing and truth to be processed without constant conflict. From here, the narrative expands into a broader reflection on emotional and spiritual strain within religious systems. It describes how individuals can experience confusion, control, and emotional harm in environments meant to bring healing and direction. Over time, such experiences can affect identity, faith, confidence, and relationships. Healing in this framework is not immediate. It is described as a gradual journey, moving from survival, where a person is simply trying to endure pain, into healing, where they begin to process and understand and finally into purpose, where their experiences can be used to help others. Support systems, counseling, community, and spiritual restoration are emphasized as essential parts of this process. The idea is that brokenness is not the end of a person's story, but a difficult chapter that can eventually become a source of wisdom and compassion. The message ultimately closes with a call for restoration and renewal process. It invites anyone who feels wounded, confused, or spiritually shaken to avoid staying alone in their pain, and instead reach out for help, reconnect with others, and slowly begin rebuilding their lives step by step. It also reminds us that human conflict is rarely simple. It is shaped by belief, emotion, history, and personal perception. In moments of disagreement, people often act from sincere conviction, even when they interpret the same events differently. What emerges is not a single truth, but a layered experience where pain, faith, leadership, and healing intersect, and each person tries to make sense of what happened. It calls for empathy, patience, and reflection, urging people to pause judgment and seek deeper understanding, remembering that healing requires time, openness, and a shared willingness to move beyond hurt toward peace. So, what do you think about Jonathan Lamb's new position? Do you really think those against him taking up the position are justified? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.